Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremiah,
I'm Kai.
And Rexy.
and this is That 70s Show. No, I'm messing with you. This is the conversation. And good God. Let's just talk about how the last few weeks have gone, because we haven't posted the conversation in a few weeks. And the last time we did, it was just Aiden talking about bugs. So, or something. I forget exactly what he's talking about. But yeah, it's been a little bit. Um, Why don't we dive in? Kyrie, how was your last, I guess, 3 weeks? It's been 3 weeks since we all posted together.
Yes, the last 3 weeks. Oh yes, AP exams are like corner, and well, half of them have been my focus. That is the AP classes that I'm taking this semester. I've been mainly focused on those, but I haven't quite started reviewing for the AP classes I took last semester. So that's going to be quite a hurdle. But otherwise, the last 3 weeks, mostly pleasant. Don't really want to get into anything too specific. That would be way too sensitive.
Oh yeah, totally. So, oh wait. So AP classes are your what?
My next focus, since the
Oh,
AP exams are literally in 5 days, 7 days, and 13 days, counting all four exams.
I'm so
You
sorry.
have 4
Wait,
AP exams? Oh my
Yes.
god.
yeah, that's not
Kudos.
good.
I could never do that.
Oh, me neither. I can't do one. But
Oh, you don't have to put yourself down. You never know until you try, but unfortunately, you do have one more opportunity. Senior year for you, Rexy, if you're
oh,
interested in taking up a challenge.
I already chosen my classes months ago. I did
Oh, maybe your
it.
counselor can help you
That
request a
made me
couple
choose
changes here
really
and there.
early. Yeah, they made me choose early March.
that's
Yeah.
so weird. Why did they? Oh yeah, wait. They always do that. That's what they like to do.
Yeah, they always do.
You know, the thing about school that I don't like. Also, Kai, when you cut out, it sounded like you said AP tests are my porn.
No, 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 no. I swear I didn't say that.
You have
Don't take
very
that as
weird preferences. And
they're not.
But yeah, the thing I always have problems with though about teachers, excuse me, about the school, is that for some reason they're like you have to sign up for all your classes in March, and yet they're so bad at picking and selecting that like we don't get the actual classes we're in until the day the school starts. And that's always something I've been a little peeved about. Like I've always wanted to have like I don't know, like some sort of guess on who's in my class before I walk into it sometimes, you know? Um Especially for like freshmen, because it doesn't really matter once you're a sophomore. But like if you're a freshman and you go into orientation and they're just like, "Oh yeah, everything's right for you." And then you come in, it's just hectic. I remember the first year I was freshman year, and they're just all at the tables, and everyone has to walk out and bump into each other and get their class slip and go to their class. It's ridiculous. Why would you make a freshman go through that?
Well, that's an interesting story to hear about your freshman year experience. Here's what I did my first few days as a freshman. I wasn't really that overwhelmed because all I did was look at my class schedule. Before any of my classes starts, I would just walk to each of the classes in order and just memorize that, and then that would be that. I I I I guess I didn't really have that many issues in terms of being overwhelmed by anything that day. How was your freshman year? First freshman day, Rexy?
Yeah.
first freshman day. Well, I
Yeah.
remember getting there super early, I think. Yeah, super early. And then I walked through my first period class before the teacher even got there. It's I saw my first teacher and it's hey, what you doing here? Oh, I'm in your class. Oh, okay, I'll let you in. Then they announced that there's gonna be assembly for first day of school. And I was oh, I gotta go right back there. So I went through my first class and my second. Those were fine. Then I went for the third period and I was next to this kid who was kind of awful to me. He called me annoying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I later found out that he was a conservative, so I guess I dodged a bullet there.
By the way, I relate to that because several of my greatest friends on the first day of school, I'm not gonna get specific names, but uh, one of them, someone that's my best friend today. First thing they told me, first thing they said, I went up to her, I was like, "Yo, what's up, everyone? What's up?" And then she goes, and then she looks at me and goes, "What kind of rock did you crawl out from under from?" And I was like,
What?
yeah, and I was like, that's the first thing I'm going to hear from this class. And the class before I went to choir, and this probably proves that I'm a little bit on the spectrum, by the way, but I was in a choir class, and the first thing I did when I walked in is I thought that someone was gay because I'd never met a gay person before because I went to a small middle school, right? At least I don't think I did. Man, I'm probably wrong. Well, at least a gay guy person. So I go in there and I'm just like, because we did this game where it's like, oh hey, say something that you are, and then everyone moves position, and I'm all like, if you're gay, I mean, see, if you like guys, that was what I said, and then two guys and one guy moved, and I was like, he's gay, and then I asked him out. I didn't know who he was. I just did it
Sorry.
because I was
On
like,
the first day, you just asked someone out of one question, asking, "Hey, you gay?" Imagine if I walk into a classroom and I ask the girls, "Hey, you hetero?" And then I ask out the first girl that moves. The outrage.
oh no. Everyone thought I was weird in choir. This is really funny because in choir, I went from being a weird person to an annoying person to a person that helps support to a leader. Over my 4 years there, and I remember
I think they're probably ready. Be right back.
oh totally Rexy.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember being there and because I didn't know that was socially unacceptable at the time. For some reason, I just thought, yeah, this is
Right.
totally normal. You could totally because someone's like, oh yeah, what's your favorite food? I'm like, well, food's very personal.
Ah, the irony.
It's totally fine. But yeah, I basically just was like, hey, you want to go out? And then later he was like, yeah, you're kind of weird. And he initially said yes, which was the most interesting thing ever. And then he said oh, actually, do you think about it? He's like, nah. But it was really funny. Um, so yeah, freshman me was very not um socially um acquainted with the way
Yeah.
he works on that front. But don't worry, I learned it because when you get banged over the head enough times with strange looks, you eventually get like, oh yeah, what I'm doing right now probably isn't the right call. No one's gonna tell me or anything like that, but I know now that's not the right call because of how that went.
Yeah. My freshman year, I acted nothing like Jeremiah. I didn't go out asking people out, asking ridiculous questions. I was more of the quiet, conservative type. In other
Wait, you
words,
forgot
I
about the
speak more
dabs.
through my actions.
You forgot
Oh, the
about the
dabs.
dabs.
Okay. When other people dab, it's your moral duty to dab back. That's an
Yeah.
exception. But nonetheless, I would describe my outward appearance during my freshman year. I just didn't really speak to that many people. Whoever I spoke to, I was extremely selective about. And really, most of my conversations were really basic small talk that I look back now and I think, I could have asked better things than that, besides the usual. How's your day been so far? What's your favorite X and Y? Well, check out this hypothetical situation I thought of in my head, and I'd love to see how you'd react to it. Like most of what I spoke of during lunch were these big philosophical hypothetical situations. If anyone's ever heard of the trolley problem, where you're given this train track, and on this train track, there are two paths a train can take. On one hand, one of the tracks ends up killing 5 people, but choosing the other track ends up killing one. Which which way would you pull the lever? I would ask these kinds of philosophical conundrums, and that's how I came to be described as the philosopher of Shorewood. Or maybe that's only how I see myself.
No, I think you'd be that way too.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm honored.
You're still you're the person I go to advice, so that's a good thing.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would definitely say, like, in freshman year, I remember my first I don't remember my first conversation with you. I just remember in general meeting you in Macaw, and that was an interesting experience because, like, I knew that. By the way, something interesting about Macaw, is that a lot of the things, some of the elements of what's in our project now is kind of partly based on the fact that that was so successful for me and for Kaiwi and for other people. Um,
Yeah.
and it all started with Maddie, this person named Maddie McCandless, and why am I bringing her up? Because she was pretty cool. She was a great she really did start like the culture of Macaw, you know, and
Or more like restart, since McCall was technically rebirthed out of imprints.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, sorry, it was it. So imagine like thinking about like a reboot of a show that you really like, or like a reboot of the Batman movies. Yeah, it's a reboot of the Batman movies. There was like years and years of Batman movies that were like good or whatever, but then there was a Batman movie that made everyone be like, okay, well, guess what, movie people, you never no longer get to make Batman movies for some reason, you know? And then Matt McCandless is like the person that came back and made the new Batman movies that are really good. Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah. Maddie is basically Jesus. She made something resurrect and come back to life.
Confirmed on
But
today's stories.
admittedly, it's a
Like
lot
a
of
phoenix.
responsibility to take on as a leader, and that's why that year we didn't quite get as much done as we would the following years because we were mainly focused on collecting more members and just getting the basic stuff organized.
Well, we made the most money that year, though. We
That is
definitely
true.
made the most money that year. Yeah, and like to be fair to Maddie, the only thing that we didn't do is get pre-orders, and we never got pre-orders in my time at Macaw, so you know. uh,
Yeah.
um, don't worry, if we have a magazine on Today's Stories viewers, we will have pre-orders months ahead of time if we, for some reason, make a magazine.
Yeah. And speaking of the topic of Macaw, you mentioned meeting me there, but for some reason I don't consciously remember me meeting Jeremiah there. Instead, at the time, for most of the time during the meetings. I thought Jeremiah was this noise in the background, distracting me from what's most important during the meetings, the actual business getting done. I will never be able to consciously recall him being there because I just tuned him out for the most part.
Oh my gosh, that makes sense because freshman year a lot of people tune me out. It was interesting in Macaw especially because like the first year I was there, I felt like Maddie McCandless always listened to me, like always. She's
Mhm.
probably the only leader to always listen to what I had to say. Like,
Yeah,
and I really like the person that we had afterwards, but like even they kind of dismiss some of my stuff every now and again. Like, I would say Maddie's probably the only person in history that listened to me all the time about everything that I brought up. Uh, and then there's like two other people that did on average. One of them
are you really
was
willing to say that in front of me and Rexy, who listen to you all the time?
no. I'm talking about freshman year in Macaw, and Rexy wasn't going to
Oh,
Macaw.
okay.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
freshman.
No, no, no,
Gotcha.
no, no,
Never
no.
mind great many hypocrisies.
I'm not
Or,
trying to
like,
be. Yeah, I'm
critical
not trying
stuff.
to
I
call
don't
anyone
know.
out.
Oh,
Sorry, what, Rexy?
like, our minds like a contradict ourselves. That's the word I was going to say. Contradict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, always like to
I mean,
contradict what really happened in reality.
that's true.
mhm.
Tricks of words.
But yeah, definitely like oh yeah, I'm not saying that. Yeah, because of course, like the year afterwards, more people, especially like me and Kylie's friendship and all that, and then our adventure with the advertising team.
I'm just that was the thing.
It definitely was a thing. It was beautiful. Um, Also, uh, in relation to creative projects, I would warn everyone: never split everything into groups unless you're sure everyone knows exactly what's going on. It's been established really well. Because like I realized this with today's stories like earlier this year. Excuse me, like in February or something, when we really had that talk. Kylie's brought this up before too, is that when you decentralize stuff, it gets so much harder to make it work. Even if it makes kind of logistical sense for something that you're doing. It's like it's like you start out at point A and you have everyone in the same place, right? And everyone knows what's going on. Two, you have to have people communicate that and have everyone still be the same amount of motivated and everything and have it all work together. And it just, it has its downfalls, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we look like the Democratic Party when we do stuff like that.
Actually, it wouldn't be the Democratic Party. The most decentralized party I know of is the Libertarian Party.
Oh,
They're the
you're
type
right.
of party that believes in complete individual freedom, at least to a very high extent, and this idea that government should have minimal interference with our lives. The Democrats, though, they want big government.
Okay.
Why? Because they believe government helps solve a lot of societal problems, such as minimum wage, universal health care, universal education, etc., etc.,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
I know
racial
what you're saying.
inequities.
Our pos our position is centralized, but the what I'm saying is like us as a team. Like, excuse me, I'm a Democrat, I'm an independent, but the Democratic Party as a team is very decentralized. Like I remember I watched some of the debates and I was just like, it's interesting when people are like when the Democrats are like, oh, we're gonna take over, we're gonna be so good. I'm like, I'm sitting here at this organization now, where we've been doing stuff for a while, and I'm like, the Democratic Party is the exact place not to base anything that you want people to join on because they constantly talk about what they're trying to do every 4 years. Like they never like I feel like they never get to that point where they're like, here's our positions that we always go with. and here's what it takes to be this. I feel like it's kind of like this unspoken thing that's kind of understood, but like I've seen the presidential debates and I've been kind of like, is there really a concrete understanding here? Like, yeah, we want bigger government, but like, is it concrete? Because no one ever goes. I've never heard the Democrats go like, "I agree with everyone here on the stage on this one thing that we all agree with because we're all Democrats, and this is exactly what we're doing. We've been fighting for this for years." I always hear like, "Well, I think I had latitude of 85." If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think you might be mistaking diversity of ideas with decentralization. I think the reason why the Democratic, and also this also applies to the Republican Party too, why the most major parties of any country really, they have to be flexible, really, to
True.
satisfy the needs of the widest net of voters they can reach. And inevitably, that means that certain politicians within such a large party, they're going to disagree about some things. There's going to be inconsistencies about the message and the platform. And there's just no solution to that other than split the party up and let the other party win.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but I would still say like the one thing that I get frustrated with though is that like usually um if you want something to see, if you want people to join or vote for something, and especially like our country is so uh what's it called, reliant.
Polarized,
Well,
divided.
yeah, but it's like it's reliant on people working together. That's why we have so many problems with legislation. And like for instance, if you're a party, like the Republicans always figure it out. They always go like, okay, well, we're gonna cut taxes for the rich. We're gonna increase military spending. In fact, everyone always agrees with that. That's kind of a magical thing there. And then they always say we're gonna give tax cuts to everyone as well as the rich, right? So that's their thing. Those are the things that all the people that try to go for president, right? Most of the people that run for federal congressional offices pitch with, right? And I've heard them say this over and over again. I've heard them say those main things. But for the Democrats, I mean, we can't even agree. Oh, should it be 15? Should it be $12 minimum wage? Should we really push it? Should it be something else? I just want us to get like three things that everyone on the stage is like, this is our thing, and that's what it is like. Like because for instance, like with today's stories, like we talked about earlier with motivation, right? You got to make people understand what you're about, you know. And I feel like uh to an extent, yeah, we want other opinions. We want people to have opinions. We've talked about that with today's stories. It's taken us a whole year to figure it out exactly how we want to conduct that. But the thing is with politics is that yes, it's confusing and complicated, but you should still have that centralized feeling and that same, like you should have those intrinsic things, or else it just becomes a waste of time to try to be a party because you're just kind of like, oh, well, give us money and we'll kind of have our own thing for everyone, and we don't have any centralized message really. It's just kind of like we kind of think these things, kind of. That's kind of what I'm thinking about that. If that makes any sense.
It's it's a perfectly understandable frustration to have. You wish to have a political party that stays consistent and just has something very solid that people won't mistaken for something else the party has also said about X and Y. That's basically what you're saying. But
Yeah,
to a certain extent, that only applies for specific things,
of
like
course.
deciding between a $12 and $15 minimum wage. The mathematics behind that has nothing to do with the point of having a higher minimum wage, the moral and ethical reasoning. I think that Democrats are at least a little bit more consistent about what values, what overall universal values they hold in terms of why they do what they do. I don't think they're necessarily decentralized about that.
That's true. I mean, and that's the thing is that like it goes to that in the comparison of that to hey, like what happens when you're in the legislation room though? What happens
Mhm.
when you're drafting a bill? What happens when the Republicans are all opposed to your strategy, and like cuz like you said earlier we have that issue of polarization. And then we have
Mhm.
all these Democrats talking about like, oh, well, should we do this? Should we do that? Oh, I don't agree. I'm not going to vote for it because even though that most people here agree with this, I don't 100%. So I'm not going to, it's that kind of idea of it feels, and I've watched the Democrats now for a few years, and I finally figured out the reason why I personally am an independent because they just seem so disorganized sometimes to me. Like they just feel, it's that feeling I got from today's stories a few times when I was like leading it, and I was like, oh man, this feels wrong. This feels like we need to shift the perspective. We need to figure out what people are thinking. Is that just feels like everything's decentralized. It's not special. It's not feeling there. It just feels kind of like you got something here, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
But
Do
anyway,
you hold the same opinion about the Republican Party, or do you think the Republican Party is a lot more centralized than the Democratic Party?
what's weird is that federally, I don't know locally, because that's a whole other discussion, but
Mhm.
federally, like especially the presidential race, I always feel like the Republicans do that so much better. It's the only thing that I'll agree with them on is that they know how to centralize their messaging and when it's something that they really want to push through. Like the tax cut thing. Oh, that was everywhere. Everyone was saying the same thing. We're gonna cut taxes. We're gonna make it so it's less money for your family and all that. And they all agreed on the bill and it got passed. It was a huge tax cut bill. I didn't agree with any of it because most of it shifted the tax cuts to the rich, but they got it through and they knew how to conduct their messaging. When I see, like I think in general, I will give the Republican Party this one compliment. They know how to centralize their messaging from what I see when I'm watching the TV and when I'm watching the bills passed and watching their major accomplishments. That's what I would say, Kyrie and Rexy. I don't know what you two think about that, but
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know enough about Republicans or Democrats to confirm or deny what you say, but what you say, it makes sense.
yeah, but yeah, what an interesting conversation we've had through this last 28 minutes. I think we're about to call it good. We'll go through and do like last things. But I did want to say like we talked about high school, and then we talked about disorganization.
Yeah. The natural order of the universe is technically entropy. In other words, disorder.
Yeah, totally true. So yeah, I think we're about done. Anyone have anything else to say before we go?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Well, as always, today's stories, folks. Go ahead, have a wonderful day, and we want you to make sure that you have a pep in your step every day. So why not come back to the conversation next week and be looking out for our announcements on exactly some new stuff that we're thinking of that we're doing and exactly everything about our centralized message because we are not going to be the Democratic Party. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you disagree with us, which is fine, because politics is very interesting. It's a very opinion based thing, um, to an extent. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, well, I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful night and stay good.